The ship called Harmony's Promise was the most beautiful vessel in the entire galaxy. It was made of white metal that seemed to glow with its own light. For 12,000 years, this ship and others like it had brought peace to new species. The Galactic Council had never failed to welcome a new civilization into their family of stars. High, Chancellor Vethral stood at the front of the ship and looked at the blue planet on the screen. He was tall, almost 3 meters, and his body was made of living crystal that changed colors with his emotions. Right now, he was glowing a soft blue. He was calm and confident. "Such a beautiful world," he said to his assistant. "These humans will be grateful for our gifts." They always are. The Council had been watching Earth for 50 years. They had seen the humans fight terrible wars. They had seen them destroy their own environment. They had seen millions die from hunger and disease. The Council felt sorry for these primitive creatures. They wanted to help. "Signal the human vessels," Vethral commanded. "Tell them we come in peace." Far away, on a military station orbiting Mars, Admiral Una received the message. She was a woman of 53 years with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too much death. Her husband had died in the resource wars 15 years ago. She did not trust easily. "What do they want?" She asked her officer. "They say they want to talk. They bring gifts and technology. They want us to join something called the Galactic Council." Una looked at the alien ship on her screen. It was huge, 10 times bigger than any human vessel. Its weapon systems were probably beyond anything Earth could imagine. She thought about what would happen if she attacked. Her fleet would be destroyed in minutes. But she also thought about history. She thought about all the times powerful nations had come to weaker ones with gifts and promises. She thought about what always happened next. "Tell them they can come no closer than Mars orbit," she said. "We will send someone to talk to them. But if they move 1 meter closer to Earth, we will consider it an act of war." Her officer looked surprised. "Admiral, are you sure? They seem friendly." "Everyone seems friendly," Una said, "until they want something from you." Ambassador Taiho arrived at the alien ship 3 days later. He was a quiet man of 40 years with a kind face that hid a sharp mind. Before becoming a diplomat, he had worked as a hostage negotiator. He knew how to stay calm when others panicked. He knew how to listen for lies hidden inside truth. The aliens welcomed him with great ceremony. They showed him wonders that made his heart beat fast. Technology that could cure any disease. Machines that could make food from nothing. Ships that could travel between stars in days instead of centuries. "All of this can be yours," Vethral said. His crystal body was glowing gold now, the color of happiness. "You only need to join the Galactic Council. We will protect you. We will guide you. We will help you become a great civilization." Taiho politely. "That is very generous. May I ask some questions?" "Of course. When a species joins the Council, who makes their laws?" Vethral paused. "The Council makes laws for the common good of all species. And if a species disagrees with a law, that rarely happens. The Council is wise, but if it does happen..." The Chancellor's crystal body flickered orange for just a moment. Annoyance. "Then the Council explains why the law is necessary. Eventually, all species understand." Taiho nodded slowly. "And what happens if a species wants to leave the Council?" This time, Vethral's body turned dark purple. He was confused. Why would any species want to leave? "We provide everything they need." "I see." Taiho stood up from his chair. He was much shorter than the alien, but he did not seem small. "Hi, Chancellor. I thank you for your offer. It is impressive, but I must decline." The room went silent. The aliens looked at each other. This had never happened before. "Perhaps you do not understand," Vethral said carefully. We are offering you membership in the greatest civilization in the galaxy. We are offering you technology that would take you thousands of years to develop. We are offering you protection from the dangers of space." "I understand perfectly," Taiho said. "And my answer is no. But why?" Taiho walked to the window and looked out at the stars. He thought about Earth and all its problems. He thought about the wars, the hunger, the suffering. He thought about how easy it would be to accept the aliens' offer and make all those problems disappear. But he also thought about freedom. He thought about the right of humans to make their own mistakes and fix them on their own. He thought about what it meant to be truly independent. "High Chancellor," he said, "where I come from, there is an old saying. When something seems too good to be true, it usually is. We are not trying to trick you. Maybe not. But you are offering to take care of us like children. You are offering to make our decisions for us. You call it protection. We call it control." Vethral's body was now flashing many colors. He did not know how to respond. In 12,000 years, no species had ever said no. "Ambassador Taiho, I urge you to reconsider. The galaxy is dangerous. Without our protection, your people could be destroyed. Then we will be destroyed while free." Taiho bowed respectfully and walked toward the door. Before he left, he turned back one more time. "My people have been ruled before," he said. "We have been conquered, enslaved, and controlled by others who said they knew what was best for us. We fought wars that killed millions to win our freedom. We will not give it away now, no matter how pretty the chains." He paused at the door. Never again. The door closed behind him, and Taiho walked back to his shuttle. His hands were shaking. He had just refused the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. He had probably made enemies of beings who could destroy Earth, with a thought, but he had also done something that no human had done before. He had stood before the stars and said that humanity would choose its own path. Back on the alien ship, Vethral stood alone in the meeting room. His body had turned a cold gray color. For the first time in his very long life, he did not know what to do. He thought about what the human had said. He thought about chains and freedom and the right to choose. He did not understand Dot in all his years. He had never met a species that preferred struggle to comfort. He had never met beings who would rather suffer alone than prosper under guidance. These humans were strange. These humans were dangerous. Dot, and for the first time in 12,000 years, the Galactic Council had a problem they did not know how to solve. Admiral Yuna was waiting when Taiho's shuttle returned to the Mars station. She looked at his face and knew immediately what had happened. "You said no," she said. "I said no." She nodded slowly. "Good. Now the real work begins. They will not accept this easily. No, they will not." Yuna looked out at the stars, where the alien ship still waited. "But we did not survive the resource wars by being easy. We survived by being stubborn." Taiho stood beside her. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Yuna thought about her husband, who had died fighting for a future he would never see. She thought about all the soldiers who had given their lives so that humanity could be free. "I think," she said slowly, "that our children will answer that question. Our job is to make sure they have the chance to answer it themselves." The alien ship turned and slowly moved away from Mars. It was returning to report to the Council. It was returning to tell them that for the first time in history, a species had said no. The stars watched in silence. A new chapter in galactic history had begun. Dot and humanity stood alone, exactly as they wanted to be. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 worlds, in 1,000,000 cities, beings of every shape and size heard the same impossible story. A primitive species had refused the Council. A race that still fought wars over resources had said no to peace and prosperity. High Chancellor Vethral stood before the full galactic. Council for the first time in 800 years. The great chamber was filled with representatives from 47 species. Some had bodies of flesh. Some were made of energy. Some existed as clouds of intelligent gas. All of them were staring at the Chancellor with the same expression of disbelief. "Tell us again," said a being made of living shadow. "They refused everything?" "Everything," Vethral confirmed. His crystal body was pale gray, the color of exhaustion. "The technology, the trade agreements, the protection treaties. They want nothing from us." The chamber erupted in noise. Creatures clicked, whistled, hummed, and screamed in their various languages. The translation devices worked hard to keep up. "This is impossible," someone shouted. "No species refuses membership. These humans did." In the corner of the chamber, Delegate Vermith watched in silence. He was a Kralith, an insectoid species with 4 arms and eyes that never blinked. His people believed that the strong should rule the weak. They had joined the council long ago only because they were not strong enough to fight it. Vormith saw an opportunity. "Chancellor," he said, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. "The meaning of this is clear. These humans are not simply refusing membership. They are challenging us." The chamber went quiet. "What do you mean?" Vethral asked. "Think about it," Vermith continued. "Why would a primitive species refuse gifts from a superior civilization? Why would they choose struggle over comfort? There is only one reason." He paused for effect. "They plan to become a threat. That is speculation, is it?" Vormith's mandibles clicked together. "They have already refused our guidance. How long before they develop weapons to challenge us? How long before they spread their philosophy? To other species? What if other protected races start thinking they too can survive without the council?" The last question hung in the air like poison. Vethral felt his body turn cold. This was exactly what he had feared. "What do you suggest?" A gas being asked. "Containment," Vermith said simply. "We surround their system. We prevent them from developing faster than light travel. We keep them isolated until they either accept membership or destroy themselves. And if they try to break out?" Vormith's eyes gleamed. "Then we do what must be done." Far from the council chamber, on a world called Sanctuary, a young human woman named Mira heard the news with horror. She was 24 years old, a scientist who had been studying at an alien university for 2 years. She was one of only 5 humans who had ever left the solar system, part of a secret exchange program that most people on Earth did not even know existed. Now, she was trapped. "You cannot leave," her alien professor told her. "All travel to human space is forbidden. The council has ordered it." "But I need to warn them," Myra said. "I need to tell them what the council is planning." "I am sorry, Myra. There is nothing I can do." Myra sat alone in her small room and thought about home. She thought about her parents, who probably believed she was dead. She thought about the blue sky and green trees of Earth, which she might never see again. But mostly she thought about what she knew. In her 2 years among the aliens, she had learned many secrets. She had learned about the Council's true history, about the species that had been destroyed for refusing membership, about the dark side of galactic peace. She had to find a way home. She had to warn her people back on Earth. General Dehun was not surprised by any of this. He was the head of military intelligence, a thin man with cold eyes who trusted no one. He had been preparing for this moment his entire career. "The council ships are conducting surveillance," he told Admiral Yuna. "They are mapping our military installations, scanning our communications, studying our weaknesses." Yuna looked at the evidence on the screen. Alien ships hidden in the asteroid belt, watching Earth like hunters watching prey. "They are planning something," she said. "Of course they are. We rejected them. We embarrassed them. They cannot let that stand. What do you recommend?" Do-hyun pulled up another screen, showing plans for a massive construction project. Hidden defense platforms. We build them in secret, bury them in asteroids, disguise them as civilian stations. When the Council attacks, and they will attack, we surprise them. Can we win? Do-hyun was silent for a moment. Probably not, but we can make them pay such a high price that they will think twice about attacking again. And while they are recovering, we develop better weapons. Yuna nodded slowly. Do it. Across the solar system, humanity began to prepare. Factories that had built cars now built weapons. Scientists who had studied medicine now studied alien technology. Children who had dreamed of peace now trained for war. Ambassador Taiho watched it all with a heavy heart. He did not want war. He had hoped that the Council would simply leave them alone. But he knew now that this was impossible. The Council could not accept a species that rejected them. It would make them look weak. Did I make the right choice? He asked Yuna one night. You made the only choice, she replied. If we had accepted their offer, we would have been safe. But we would not have been free. And a people that gives up freedom for safety deserves neither. That is easy to say. It is harder to watch young men and women prepare to die. Yuna put her hand on his shoulder. They are not preparing to die. They are preparing to fight. There is a difference. In the Galactic Council chamber, the debate continued for weeks. Some species wanted peace. Some wanted war. Some wanted to simply ignore humanity and hope they destroyed themselves. Finally, Chancellor Vethral made a decision. We will give them 1 year, he announced. 1 year to reconsider their choice. We will not attack them. We will not trade with them. We will simply wait and watch. And after 1 year? Vermith demanded. Vethral's body turned dark. After 1 year, if they have not changed their minds, we will discuss alternative measures. Everyone knew what that meant. Alternative measures meant war. On Sanctuary, Myra began to plan her escape. She studied ship schedules. She learned which guards could be bribed. She gathered information about Council military plans that she thought about the humans she had met among the stars. Most aliens viewed humanity as primitive and violent. But Myra had seen something different. She had seen courage. She had seen determination. She had seen a species that would rather die free than live as slaves. She had to help them. On Earth, the year began. 12 months to prepare for the biggest fight in human history. 12 months to become strong enough to face the entire galaxy. General Do-hyun worked day and night. Admiral Yuna trained her fleet. Ambassador Taiho tried to find allies among the alien traders who still secretly visited. Human space dot, and somewhere in the dark between the stars, forces began to move. Ships were built. Weapons were tested. Plans were made. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity stood alone, watching the stars with defiant eyes. They knew what was coming. They knew the odds were against them. But they also knew something that the Council did not understand. Humans have been fighting against impossible odds for thousands of years. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and their own stupidity. They had crawled out of caves and reached for the stars. They would not stop now. The year of silence had begun. But it would not be a year of waiting. It would be a year of preparation. When the Council came, they would find that humanity had teeth, and they would learn too late that some prey fights back. The year passed slowly, like a held breath waiting to be released. The galaxy watched the small blue planet and its stubborn inhabitants. Most expected them to surrender. Most expected them to realize their mistake and beg for forgiveness. They were wrong. Captain Jinho was 28 years old, and he commanded a warship at the edge of human space. His ship, the Vigilant, was small by galactic standards. It had only 6 weapons and a crew of 40. But Jinho had trained his people until they could fight in their sleep. He was standing on the bridge when the alarm sounded. Unknown vessel entering human territory, his officer reported. Configuration matches Kralith scout ship. Jinho felt his heart beat faster. The Kralith were the ones who wanted humanity destroyed. If one of their ships was in human space, it meant trouble. "Open a channel," he ordered. The alien ship appeared on the screen. It was shaped like a black insect, all sharp angles and hidden weapons. A Kralith voice crackled through the speakers. "Human vessel, we are conducting authorized patrol. Move aside." "Authorized by whom?" Jinho asked calmly. "By the Galactic Council." "The Galactic Council has no authority in human space." "You are trespassing. Leave now, or we will force you to leave." The Kralith laughed. It was an ugly sound, like metal scraping against stone. "You are one small ship. We could destroy you without effort." "Maybe, but you would have to explain to the Council why you attacked a human vessel during the Year of Peace." "I do not think they would be happy." There was silence on the other end. Jinho had guessed right. The Kralith were here without permission. They were testing human defenses, gathering information for the attack they hoped would come. "You will regret this, human," the voice said finally. "I have many regrets. You will not be one of them. Now leave." The Kralith ship turned and moved away. Jinho watched it go with cold eyes. He knew they would be back. And next time, they might not leave peacefully in a secret laboratory deep beneath the surface of the moon. Dr. Suji worked on something that kept her awake at night. She was 42 years old, one of the most brilliant scientists humanity had ever produced. And she was building a weapon that terrified her. It was called the Gatebreaker. When activated, it would collapse any jump gate within range. Ships traveling through the gate would be scattered across light years of empty space. Fleets would be stranded. Supply lines would be cut. Entire civilizations would be isolated from each other. "Are you sure about this?" her assistant asked. Suji looked at the device on her workbench. It was small, no bigger than a suitcase. But it could change the galaxy forever. "No," she said honestly. "I am not sure about anything. But if the Council attacks us, we need something that can stop them. We need something that makes them afraid. What if someone else gets this technology? What if it is used against us? Then we will face that problem when it comes. Right now, our problem is survival." Suji worked through the night, as she had every night for 6 months. She thought about her children, who did not know what their mother was building. She thought about the future and whether there would be one far from Earth. On a station at the edge of known space, a merchant named Kelix was getting rich. He was not human. He was a Telluri, a species of traders who had no homeworld and no loyalty except to profit. And he had discovered something wonderful. Humans made things that aliens wanted. Their art was strange and beautiful. Their music was wild and emotional. Their food was exotic and delicious. And because humans were supposed to be isolated, these things were rare and valuable. Kelix had started by trading with a single human cargo ship. Now he had a small fleet bringing human goods to wealthy buyers across the galaxy. He charged enormous prices, and aliens paid them without complaint. "You are a curious species," he told a human trader named Boyang. "You reject the Council's gifts, but you trade with me for profit." "Why?" Boyang smiled. "Because you do not try to control us. You do not tell us how to live. You just want to buy and sell. That we can understand, but the Council wants to help you. The Council wants to own us. There's a difference." Kelix thought about this for a long time. He had never questioned the Council before. They were simply the way things were. But the humans made him wonder, what would the galaxy look like if every species was free to choose its own path? On Sanctuary, Myra finally saw her chance. A cargo ship was leaving for a neutral station near human space. If she could get aboard, she might be able to find a way home. She had spent months preparing. She had forged documents. She had bribed officials. She had memorized council military plans that could save millions of human lives. The night before she left, her alien professor came to see her. "I know what you are planning," he said quietly. "I should report you." Myra felt her blood turn cold. "Will you?" The professor was silent for a long moment. He was old, even by alien standards. He had lived for 3,000 years and seen many things. "When I was young," he said finally, "my species was a protected member of the council. We were happy. We were safe. We were also slowly dying inside. We had no challenges, no struggles, no reason to grow or change. We became like children who never grew up. What happened? A plague came, a disease that the council could not cure. Half my species died before we learned to fight it ourselves. We had forgotten how to struggle. We had forgotten how to survive." He looked at Myra with sad eyes. "Your species is dangerous, young one. You are violent and stubborn and refuse to accept help. But you are also alive in a way that most council species have forgotten. Perhaps the galaxy needs that." He handed her a small device. "This will disable the security on the cargo ship. Go home, Myra. Warn your people. And may your stubbornness save you." Myra took the device with shaking hands. "Thank you. Do not thank me. I am probably making a terrible mistake. But I am too old to care." 3 days later, Myra was on a cargo ship heading for neutral space. In her pocket was information that would change everything. Back on Earth, the year was almost over. Admiral Una stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Unconquered, and reviewed the defense reports. Hidden platforms armed and ready, 247. New warships constructed, 83. Soldiers trained and equipped, 2 million. It was not enough. It would never be enough. The Council had millions of ships and trillions of soldiers. If they wanted humanity destroyed, they could do it, but they would pay a price. "Admiral," her officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the Lunar Research Facility. Dr. Suji says the gate breaker is complete." Una felt something strange in her chest. Hope, maybe, or fear. She was not sure. "Tell her I will visit tomorrow. And tell no one else. This information stays secret." The weapon that could change everything was ready. The question now was whether they would ever need to use it. In a shipyard orbiting Jupiter, the final touches were being made on a vessel unlike any humanity had ever built. It was called the Defiance, and it was humanity's first ship capable of traveling faster than light. They had built it in secret, using technology stolen from a crashed alien vessel and improved by human engineers. It was not as fast as council ships. It was not as well armed. But it could do something no human ship had ever done. It could reach the council's home system. "She is ready," the shipyard commander reported to Admiral Una. "Good. Load the gatebreaker aboard. And find me a crew willing to fly into the heart of enemy territory." "That will not be difficult, Admiral. Everyone is volunteering." Una smiled for the first time in months. Of course they are. They are human. The year of silence was ending. Soon, humanity would speak again. And this time, the galaxy would listen. On the last day of the year, Ambassador Taiho recorded a message. It would be carried by the Defiance to the Council itself. It would be delivered not as a plea or an apology, but as a statement. "We are humanity," he said, looking into the camera. "We have spent a year preparing for war. We have built weapons you cannot imagine. We have trained soldiers who do not fear death. But we do not want war. We want only one thing: freedom. The freedom to make our own choices, our own mistakes, our own future. Give us that, and we can be friends. Deny us, and we will fight until the last human draws breath." He paused, thinking of all the people depending on his words. "We are coming to you now. Not to attack, not to surrender, but to talk. One last time." The message ended. The Defiance prepared to launch, and humanity prepared to face the stars. The Defiance emerged from faster-than-light travel in the heart of the Galactic Council's home system. Alarms screamed across 1,000 monitoring stations. Ships scrambled to intercept. Weapons locked onto the small human vessel, but no one fired. Ambassador Taiho stood on the bridge, his heart pounding but his face calm. Around him, the crew worked their stations with steady hands. They were all volunteers. They all knew they might not return home. "Human vessel," a voice demanded through the communication system. "Identify yourself and explain your presence." "This is the Earth vessel Defiance," Taiho replied. "I am Ambassador Taiho of the United Human Nations. I request an audience with the full Galactic Council. I come to deliver a message from my people." There was a long silence. Taiho imagined the chaos his arrival must be causing. A primitive species, one that was supposed to have no faster-than-light travel, had appeared in the most secure location in the galaxy. "You will hold position. Any attempt to move will be considered hostile." "Understood." "We will wait." They waited for 3 hours. During that time, more than 100 council ships surrounded the Defiance. Some were bigger than cities. Some had weapons that could crack planets open like eggs. The small human ship floated among them like a mouse surrounded by lions, but the mouse had teeth. Hidden in the cargo hold, the gatebreaker hummed quietly, ready to be activated at a moment's notice. Finally, the message came. "Ambassador Taiho, your request is granted. You will be transported to the council chamber immediately." Taiho looked at his crew. "If anything happens to me, you know what to do." The captain nodded. Her finger rested near the button that would activate the gatebreaker. "We will not fail you, Ambassador." The council chamber was even more impressive than Taiho had imagined. It was a sphere nearly 1 kilometer across, floating in space. Inside, representatives from 47 species sat in curved rows that rose toward a distant ceiling. Lights of every color illuminated beings of every shape. At the center of the sphere was a platform. Taiho was transported there alone. He stood beneath the gaze of the entire galaxy, a single human in a sea of alien power. High Chancellor Vethrol spoke first. His crystal body was dark gray, the color of suspicion and worry. "Ambassador Taiho, you have done something impossible. You have appeared in our home system with a faster-than-light ship. You have proven that your species is more advanced than we believed. Yes. How did you develop this technology?" "We learned from you," Taiho said simply. "We studied the ships that watched our system. We found one that had crashed. We took it apart and built something better." A murmur ran through the chamber. Several delegates looked angry. Others looked impressed. "You stole our technology." "We learned from technology that was spying on us." "I think that is fair." Delegate Vermeth rose from his seat. His insectoid body clicked with anger. "This is exactly what I warned the council about. These humans are thieves and liars. They cannot be trusted." "We are survivors," Taiho replied calmly. "We do what we must to protect our people." "You are a threat." "We were no threat until you made us one." Taiho turned to address the entire chamber. "1 year ago, you offered us membership in the council. We refused. Since then, you have surrounded our system with warships. You have conducted surveillance of our military. You have discussed plans to contain us or destroy us." He pulled out a small device and projected images into the air. Council ships in human territory. Secret communications about alternative measures. Plans for a blockade that would slowly starve humanity. You call this peace? Taiho asked. You call this protection? The chamber was silent. Many delegates had not known about these plans. They looked at each other with shock and suspicion. Where did you get this information? Vethral demanded. From a friend who believes the galaxy can be better than it is. Before anyone could respond, the doors of the chamber opened. An old woman walked in, supported by 2 human guards. She moved slowly, but her eyes were sharp and clear. Elder Suman was 112 years old. She remembered a time before humans knew they were not alone in the universe. She had watched humanity change from a species that feared the stars to one that reached for them. I am Suman, she said, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. I am the oldest human who has ever left Earth. I have come to tell you something. She walked to the platform and stood beside Taiho. Despite her age, she seemed to grow taller as she faced the assembled aliens. You look at us and see a primitive species. You see our wars, our hatred, our destruction. You think we need your guidance. You think we cannot survive without your help. She smiled, and there was no warmth in it. You are wrong. She began to speak about human history. She spoke of empires that rose and fell. She spoke of peoples who were conquered and rose again. She spoke of the millions who had died fighting for freedom, knowing they would never see it themselves. We have made terrible mistakes, she admitted. We have done evil things to each other. But we have also learned from our mistakes. We have grown. We have changed. We have pulled ourselves out of darkness again and again. She pointed at the alien delegates. You have protected your member species for 12,000 years. You have given them peace and safety. But what have they become? Have they grown? Have they changed? Or have they simply stopped? No one answered. The question hung in the air like smoke. We do not want your protection, Suman continued. We do not want your guidance. We want only one thing, the right to make our own choices, the right to fail on our own terms, the right to grow and change and become whatever we are meant to be. Chancellor Vethral leaned forward. And if you fail? If you destroy yourselves? Then we will have no one to blame but ourselves. Is that not better than living forever as children, always depending on someone else to solve our problems? Delegate Vermith slammed his fist against his chair. This is nonsense. We cannot allow a dangerous species to roam free in the galaxy. They must be contained. Taiho spoke quietly. About that, I should tell you something about our ship. The chamber fell silent. The Defiance is equipped with a weapon unlike anything the galaxy has seen. We call it the Gatebreaker. If activated, it will collapse the jump gate that connects this system to the rest of the galaxy. Your fleets will be stranded. Your trade routes will be cut. Your great civilization will be crippled. For the first time, real fear appeared on alien faces. You would not dare, Vermith hissed. I pray we never have to. But if you attack our people, if you try to destroy us or enslave us, we will use it. And we will keep building them. We will keep fighting. We will never stop. Taiho looked around the chamber. You have ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years. You have never faced a species willing to die for freedom. You do not know how to fight us, because we will never surrender. Even if you kill every human in the universe, others will remember us. Others will wonder if they too can live without the Council. He let the words sink in. So here is what we propose. Recognize humanity as equals. Not protected species. Not children. Equals. We will trade with you fairly. We will share what we learn. We will even help defend against common threats. But we will never bow to your laws. We will never accept your control." Chancellor Vethral was silent for a long moment. His crystal body shifted through many colors, showing emotions that humans could only guess at. "And the other protected species?" he asked finally. "What of them?" This was the moment Taiho had been waiting for. Any species that wants independence should have it. Any species that wants to leave the council should be free to leave. That is what we demand. Not just freedom for ourselves. Freedom for everyone. The chamber exploded into noise. Delegates shouted at each other. Some demanded war. Some demanded negotiation. Some simply stared at the humans with expressions of wonder and fear. Vormith stood up, his body trembling with rage. "I will not allow this. The Kralith will never accept these terms. If the council will not act, we will act alone." He stormed out of the chamber. His words hung in the air like a threat. Elder Suman watched him go. "He will attack," she said quietly to Taiho. "Yes, but not today. And when he does, we will be ready." They stood together on the platform, two humans facing a galaxy of aliens. They had delivered their message. They had made their demands. Now they could only wait to see how the universe would respond. As Taiho was transported back to the Defiance, Chancellor Vethral remained in the empty chamber. He thought about everything the humans had said. He thought about 12,000 years of peace, and he wondered if peace without freedom was really peace at all. For the first time in his very long life, he was not sure. The galaxy was changing. Whether that change would bring destruction or a new beginning, not even the wisest being could say. But one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The Kralith attacked without warning. 300 warships entered human space on a single day, burning with weapons that could melt mountains. Delegate Varmuth led them personally, determined to destroy humanity before they could spread their dangerous ideas any further. The galaxy watched in horror. The Council had not authorized this attack, but they had not stopped it either. Admiral Una stood on the bridge of the Unconquered and looked at the incoming fleet. She had known this day would come. She had trained her entire life for it. "All stations report ready," her officer said. "Good. Activate the hidden platforms. Launch all fighters. And send a message to the Kralith fleet." "What message, Admiral?" Una smiled grimly. "Tell them we have been waiting for them." The Battle of Earth lasted for 3 days. It was the largest battle in human history, and it changed the galaxy forever. The Kralith came expecting to find a primitive species cowering in fear. Instead, they found a trap. Hidden defense platforms emerged from asteroids, raining fire on the alien fleet. Human warships, smaller but faster, danced between the enemy vessels, striking at weak points and disappearing before the Kralith could respond. Captain Jinho led a squadron of 12 ships against a Kralith dreadnought 10 times their size. They lost 7 ships, but they destroyed the dreadnought's engines, leaving it helpless in space. Dr. Suji watched from her laboratory on the moon, her finger near the button that would activate the gatebreaker. She had been ordered to use it only if Earth was about to fall. So far, that moment had not come. General Do-hyun coordinated the defense from a bunker deep beneath the Earth's surface. He had spent years preparing for this moment. Every weapon, every tactic, every strategy had been designed for exactly this fight. And on the front lines, 2 million human soldiers fought with everything they had. They knew what they were fighting for. They knew what would happen if they lost. On the second day of the battle, something unexpected happened. A small fleet of ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They were not Kralith. They were not Council. They were from species that had been watching humanity for a year. Species that had secretly admired their courage. Species that had been waiting for someone to challenge the Council. "We come to help," their leader broadcast to Admiral Una. "We too believe in freedom." More fleets arrived throughout the day. Traders who had grown rich on human goods. Scientists who had studied human culture. Species that had been protected by the Council for so long they had forgotten what it meant to fight for themselves. They were not many, but they were enough. On the third day, the Kraloth fleet was surrounded. The Myth's flagship was crippled, its weapons destroyed, its engines dead. Human marines boarded the vessel and fought their way to the bridge. They found Volmith waiting for them, a weapon in each of his 4 hands. "You cannot defeat us," he hissed. "Even if you win today, the Council will send more ships. They will destroy you eventually." Admiral Yuna appeared on the bridge behind her marines. She walked past them until she stood face to face with the alien delegate. "Maybe," she said, "but not today, and not by you." She could have killed him. Everyone expected her to kill him. He had attacked without provocation. He had tried to destroy her people. He deserved death. Instead, she took the weapons from his hands and put him in chains. "You will stand trial," she said. "You will face justice according to law." That is how civilized species behave. The news spread across the galaxy within hours. The humans had won. They had defeated a Kraloth fleet 3 times their size. And instead of killing their enemy, they had shown mercy. Chancellor Vethral watched the reports in his private chamber. His crystal body glowed with colors that had no human names. Wonder, admiration, fear, hope. These humans were everything the Council had feared. They were stubborn, violent, unpredictable. But they were also brave, creative, and capable of mercy even in victory. Perhaps the galaxy needed species like this. The Treaty of Soul was signed 1 month later. It was the first new treaty in 8,000 years, and it changed everything. Humanity was recognized not as a protected species, but as a sovereign member. They would make their own laws, control their own territory, and determine their own future. The Council would have no authority over them. But more importantly, the treaty established a new principle. Any species could claim sovereignty. Any species could leave the Council's protection. Any species could choose freedom. Within a year, 14 species had done exactly that. They formed a new alliance with humanity at its center. Not an empire. Not a collection of servants. A partnership of equals, each species free to go its own way. Ambassador Taiho and Chancellor Vethral sat together in a small room, sharing a drink made from human grapes. It was the Chancellor's first taste of wine, and he found it strange but pleasant. "I never understood your species," Vethral admitted. "I still do not understand you completely, but I am beginning to see why you chose the path you did." "We are not complicated," Taiho said. "We simply want to be free. Free to make our own choices. Free to make our own mistakes. Free to become whatever we are meant to be. Even if that means struggle. Even if that means pain. Especially then. Growth does not come from comfort. It comes from challenge." Vethral was silent for a moment. "The Council has kept peace for 12,000 years. We have protected countless species from war and suffering. Was that wrong?" Taiho chose his words carefully. "Protection is not wrong. But protection that never ends becomes a prison. Children must be protected. But children must also grow up. You kept your protected species as children forever. You meant well, but you took something from them that they can never get back." "What?" "The chance to fail. The chance to learn. The chance to become something more than they were." On the moon, Dr. Suji stood before the gatebreaker for the last time. The war was over. The weapon was no longer needed. But it existed, and it would always be a temptation. "We should destroy it," she said to Admiral Yuna. "I agree. No one should have this power. Not even us." Together, they watched as the device was taken apart piece by piece. The technology was recorded and sealed away, to be used only if humanity faced extinction. But the weapon itself was gone. "I built something terrible," Suji said. "Something that could have shattered the galaxy." "You built something that saved us," Yuna replied. "The threat of it was enough. We never had to use it. I hope we never do." Myra finally returned to Earth 6 months after the battle. She had spent years among the stars, learning alien secrets, gathering information that had helped save her people. But she had never forgotten home. She landed in a field outside the city where she had grown up. The sky was blue. The grass was green. Birds sang in the trees. It was exactly as she remembered. Her parents were waiting for her. They were old now, gray-haired and wrinkled. They had thought she was dead for years. When they saw her walking toward them, they began to cry. "I'm home," Myra said, holding them close. "I'm finally home." Fleet Admiral Hyunwoo led the new human fleet on its first patrol beyond the solar system. They were no longer hiding. They were no longer afraid. They were explorers, going out into a galaxy that had finally accepted them as equals. "What do you think is out there?" his officer asked. Hyunwoo looked at the stars spreading before them, endless and full of mystery. "Everything," he said. "Danger, wonder, friends, enemies, things we cannot imagine, things we will never understand. Are you afraid?" "Yes, but I'm also excited. That is what it means to be human. We are afraid, but we go forward anyway. We see the unknown, and we reach for it." The fleet moved into the darkness between the stars. Behind them, Earth glowed like a blue jewel, the home they would always protect. Ahead of them lay a galaxy that would never be the same. Humanity had stood alone against the stars. They had refused to bow. They had refused to surrender. And in the end, they had not just survived. They had changed everything. In the years that followed, historians would argue about what the humans had really accomplished. Some said they had shattered the peace of 12,000 years. Some said they had freed the galaxy from gentle tyranny. Some said they had simply been lucky. But the humans themselves did not worry about such questions. They were too busy living, too busy exploring, too busy becoming whatever they were meant to be. They had won the right to make their own mistakes, and they intended to make many, many more. Elder Suman died peacefully in her sleep 3 years after the treaty was signed. She was 115 years old, the oldest human who had ever lived. Her last words were simple. It was worth it. On her grave, they carved an epitaph that became famous across the galaxy. "Here lies a human." She was free, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the stars continued to shine, waiting, watching, ready for whatever humanity would do next. The story was far from over. In many ways, it had only just begun.